Power prices in Europe continue to smash records, intensifying the European energy crisis and sparking fears about access to electricity and heating as weather begins to cool. Unfortunately, the energy crisis is already here. German power prices for next year, which are considered Europe's benchmark, jumped to $1,000 per megawatt hour on Monday before falling back to $840 per megawatt hour. France's nuclear sector, which is providing about 70% of country's electricity, is also struggling with lower outputs, pushing up the country's energy prices. Not only do average households struggle to pay for power and heating at such cost, but governments also are coming up short. The $279 billion which the European governments have allocated to help small consumers, it's already not enough. Britain's National Energy Action predicts an increase from 4.5 million UK households to 8.5 million, which are going to face energy shortages this winter. Kosovo is already suffering, starting with blackouts, 2 hours off for every 6 hours on. Blackouts are also expected in other European countries. The worst has yet to come. Russian Security Council Chairman Dmitry Medvedev said on August 28 that gas prices will hit $5,000 per 1,000 cubic meter by the end of 2022. European countries are far from ready. In warm weather, cooling equipment is using electricity which may be generated by natural gas, wind or solar power, coal, geothermal, biomass or nuclear power. But in cold weather or the heating season, consumption is mainly from fossil fuels, especially natural gas and oil, because most heating systems are still petroleum fueled. Like every year, demand for natural gas will increase dramatically as soon as winter sets in. With Europe dependent on Russian imports for over 40% of its gas needs, 46% for coal and 27% for oil, Putin has a lot of leverage, and this year he is not playing nice. Hi, my name is Gio, hope you're doing well. In today's episode, let's take a look at the energy crisis in Europe and see what is coming next. Let's get right into it. The energy problem is largely due to Russian war in Ukraine, which has disrupted exports of Russian gas to Europe and raised prices everywhere else. Europe has been dealing since June with drastically lower imports of gas from Russia, which is the biggest suppliers by far. Moscow cut flows through the Nord Stream pipeline by 80% to punish Germany and other countries for supporting Ukraine. But it's not just the war and Russia. Alternative suppliers of gas are expensive. Climate changes has strained rivers so much that many of Europe's nuclear plants are offline, and there's been more than a decade of confusion among European policymakers about how to build shock absorbers into the system. Power prices in both Germany and France reached record level this week as a reflection of the current energy crisis in Europe. Desperate times have called for desperate measures. For that, Britain announced a painful 80% spike in the cost of energy for households, while Germany increased bills by almost 500 euros. Future for gas at a trading hub in Netherlands, the benchmark in northwestern Europe, rose 3.2% on Tuesday to $233 per megawatt hour. That is the highest price ever in Europe, surpassing the record set on March 7, shortly after Russia invaded Ukraine. Prices have jumped since Russia Gazprom announced that it will shut down the Nord Stream 1 gas pipeline for 3 days starting Wednesday to perform maintenance work, spreading fears that Moscow could completely shut off gas to Europe. When the crucial pipeline went offline for repair for 10 days in July, many policymakers feared it wouldn't come back. When Russia restarted operations, flows were significantly reduced. Gazprom said gas transmission will resume at a rate of 33 million cubic meters per day when the maintenance work is completed. The announcement of the temporary shutdown comes as European governments are struggling to fill underground storage facilities with natural gas supplies to have enough fuel to keep homes warm during these coming months. Normally, Europe can refill its gas storage during the summer and use it in the winter when demand is higher and prices are higher too. Now, with colder months coming and Russia tightening the flow of natural gas, Europe has been locked in a race against time to fill its tanks, which leaders have stopped by paying extremely high prices. So far, experts said European nations have been largely on track with their plans. In the winter, Europe typically uses a lot of what it has stored, while at the same time importing lots of gas from other sources. But as we think about this winter, there is a good possibility that there won't be any Russian gas at all. Without Russian supplies in the winter, European nations will be forced to rely on imports of liquefied natural gas, even more from suppliers such as the United States. But the problem is that Asia, a larger market, is also relying on the same suppliers, which mean prices are always going to be higher than gas from the east. Businesses are concerned they may have to periodically halt operation over the winter if power is in short supply, while households could struggle to pay soaring heating bills. The fallout could trigger a deep recession. What is the EU currently doing to face the challenges? Germany is experiencing this pain the most. The government has already taken several energy-saving measures such as rationing heated water and refusing swimming pools. To deal with the challenges, Berlin has implemented the second stage of its three-stage emergency gas plan. It also took the course to help its energy giants that have been hit by the high gas prices from Russia. The situation is pretty much the same all across Europe. France has recently announced plans to nationalize the company Electricity de France, which is a power company because it cannot deal with growing economic losses. The question is, how much money can governments provide to energy consumers and these companies? The best possible long-term vector to deal with the crisis is rationing gas supply. To ensure independence from Russian gas, a certain infrastructure needs to be developed, new suppliers to be found, and new terminals to be built. This takes time, and for now, European leaders will continue to secure enough supplies and can only hope for good weather this winter. How Europe fights back? Nord Stream pipeline is already operating at a limited rate after maintenance. The European Commission recently called on EU countries to reduce demand for natural gas by 15% in the coming winter months and to authorize it to enforce needed demand cuts. So, the key task for Europe are to have filled its gas storage facilities to about 90% of their capacity and to reduce current gas consumption to put that safe gas into storage. In this context, Dr. Fatih Birol, which is the chief economist and director at the Paris-based International Energy Agency, offered the following solutions. Introduction of auctions platform to encourage European industrial gas consumers to reduce demand. The part of their contracted gas supply can be delivered as demand reduction products for compensation. Decrease the use of gas in the energy domain. This is achievable by temporarily increasing electricity generation from coal and oil. Meanwhile, it makes sense to facilitate the deployment of low-carbon sources together with the nuclear power if policies and technology allows it. Streamline coordination between gas and power operators through EU countries. The measure significantly diminished the impact of reduced gas consumption on energy systems. Reduce energy demand for households by establishing cooling and control standards. Governments, public buildings, and energy and utility management services needs to cooperate here. Media campaigns should promote behavior shifts among consumers. Coordinate actions on emergency planning across EU countries. This should compromise supply reduction measures and solidarity mechanism. What's the energy suppliers' part? They need to keep up with new regulatory and policy environments requiring energy consumption efficiency and demand-side flexibility. At a time of such energy market turbulence, their primary mission is to help consumers better understand their energy use and lower their bills. It comes down to switching from traditional business models to digital business models and starting to use utility management software as a part of it. The digital transformation is about automation, reduces operational costs, serves complex infrastructures, and addresses the need of customers of any type like commercial and industrial customers. Digital models help businesses reduce demand, which are the possibility of bringing the energy prices down. One possibility in theory, at least, would be to do nothing. Europe could accept that rising energy costs are going to make it poorer for some time and simply accept the situation. Eventually, the loss of output caused by sky-high prices will lead to drop in demand for oil and gas, and prices would come down sharply. The problem with allowing the market mechanism to work is that it will cause huge damage for the citizens of European countries, especially those in the poorest households. A second option would be to take the opportunity provided by Putin's weaponization of gas to speed up the transition away from fossil fuel. Western governments have signed up to net zero carbon target, and here's a way of accelerating progress. Instead of relying on Russian gas, countries in the West should be building up their own cleaner and greener forms of energy. An obvious way to bring energy prices down would be to find a way of ending the war. Prices are expected to remain high because no serious attempts are being made diplomatically to end the war. In conclusion, the crisis needs consolidated actions of governments, power suppliers, and consumers. While governments are focusing on securing enough gas for this winter and reducing demand, businesses need to help with this attempt by following the best energy practices and providing all kinds of support for people, especially vulnerable ones. Thank you so much for watching. As always, if you find this content helpful, smash that like and subscribe button to help this channel grow, turn on the notification bell, and check out all the links in the description down below. See you in the next video. Stay safe.